Hello, Problematic Boy here, and this is going to be our first build showcase of the new Torchlight Black Sail season, Season 2, and yeah, it's Ignite Rehan. So, so we're currently at almost level 94, level 93. I'm going to run through a T7 real quick, just to show the build, and then we'll talk about some things. First off, I made a video earlier about Reap supposedly being bugged. I figured out what the cause was of why my ailments were not doing damage on Rehan. It's a Rehan specific issue, and nobody figured it out. But I have figured it out why it's happening. I'll explain that later because it's really important for the build that you know why it's happening. And it is Ground Shaker because it's really like the best melee ailment skill. I'll talk about why as well. And you can see the playstyle is Ground Shaker. Everything ignites, everything dies. Oh wow, that hurt. Why did that hurt so much? I'm just gonna run through here. I'll do the league mechanic as well. I really like the league mechanic. Pretty good. I won't do the shrine because it takes too long. Just want to do a little nice run through here. And he's burning. Okay. Do this. Memories. Embers. Let's go embers. I need embers. It's pretty nice for the league mechanic too. Covers pretty much the whole arena. Get our Seal Whisperer. Go for the Flame Fuel. And there we go. Now to talk about the build. Let's talk about the build. First off, let's talk about Reap. And let's talk about why I thought it was bugged. And let's talk about why it wasn't working the way I was expecting it to work. It turns out the way ailments work, and I knew this, but I didn't put two and two together, is that you can overwrite a stronger ailment with a weaker ailment. So the stronger ailment does not always take priority. This is very important for Ground Shaker because our strong ailment comes from our Demolisher Charge explosion. So that will apply a very strong ignite. And you can overwrite that, of course, if you just keep spamming your attack. So if you keep doing the regular attack, it's going to overwrite it eventually, the ignite, and it's not going to do any damage. So how does this factor into Reap not working as I expected it would? Is that what was happening is that Rehan has a thing called Burst. And Burst was applying, back when I was playing Bleed Rehan, it was applying a weaker bleed that was applying a weaker Reap. It was overriding my strong bleed with a weak bleed from the Burst, and then it just wasn't working. So that is why Reap wasn't doing the damage I thought. So how do we get around this? So first of all, this is very important. Listen. Is that the Burst will apply an Ignite unless you put on Elemental Fusion. With Elemental Fusion on our burst, it will not overwrite any of our ignites. We can have full control over our ignites. So that is really nice. So that's basically how you fix that problem, is that you need to find a way to make it so that your burst is not applying the ailment. Once you have that figured out, it's pretty smooth. So let's talk about gear a little bit. A lot of this gear is going to be very cheap sooner rather than later. The rings right now are cheap. This is just shitty crafted gear that wasn't too bad. Just self farming the embers. Uh, Obviously, right now these are what? Oh, 25? Well, I got these for 15. So I mean, that's good. Dragon Breath Armor, I got this one pretty cheap, probably about like 15. And then Sons of Embrace Helmet, I got for not that much. Okay, so these are actually gone up in price, but eventually they'll go down because they're fairly common uniques, and yeah, you don't necessarily need all of them to get to this point, but yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the weapon. Well, maybe I should talk a little bit. This is just giving us a ton of fire damage and defense. We're using a mechanical heart to be immune to ignite because we want to run King Boon boots, just for a little bit of reap, but mostly for more with less. And movement speed is nice, and the additional dot damage taken is nice. We have a Searing Finger Bone that I I corroded so that we could reap. So we have less reaping cooldown recovery speed, but it normally says you cannot reap. Now that's off. You don't really need a Searing Finger Bone. You can even run this build completely without reap at the moment. Reap isn't that much. You need this for the max ignite, of course. And then we'll talk a little bit about the weapon. Now, currently my weapon is crafted and it's better than the legendary, but the legendary I think is pretty cheap. I have sold the legendary. Okay, so let me go look at the trade house and I can show you the legendary. It's very cheap, or I think it is anyway. It's Magnus's Guide. It's currently 1 FE. This item, is as the legendary, is a great starter weapon. It gives you a ton of basic ignite. It gives you an extra ignite. The fire pen doesn't really matter. I'll talk about that in a second. But overall, it's a very great starting weapon, and it can get you really far. At least like you can definitely do T7s with it. I'm pretty sure. So the crafted weapon, we need to talk about what we're going for on the crafted weapon. This is a very shitty one that I just like put together. We want T1 basic knight, of course. We want T1 elemental damage. This is a filler. You want T1 crit damage. This is a filler, and you want T1 additional damage for the skill when Demolisher charge is consumed, because that's going to apply to your ignite. And you want T1 of this because you can get up to 30%, and it's just a more multiplier. Eventually, I'm going to go for Explode and +5 main skill level on this, because it's very good. Here we have a T1 crit damage one waiting to be made, and the reason we want crit damage is because every 3% of crit damage is 1% additional ignite damage, because we are running our talents. So let's talk about talents. The talent I'm talking about is Vile, 1% additional ailment damage per 3% of critical strike damage. That's the way we're scaling a lot of our damage. We go God of Might. I am running Tenacity just because I think I like the DR while I'm mapping. And then we're running Blazing Fire. Per fire dot, we're running Rock for the extra stacks and, yeah, the damage. And we're running Starfire for an extra ignite and ignite duration. Now, I'll pan here. Just do a little pan. Getting crit damage here and radius. And the next level, once we get 94, I'm going to grab this. And then we have the conversion here, which doesn't really matter. And then in Warlord, it looks like this. We could respec a little bit for more life. Just getting the ignite stuff. Do a slow pan here. And I still have the fire skill level. This applies to your fire supports, so it's not that bad. I think it's pretty good. And then, of course, we get the Affliction. And then Warlock, I'll pan. Ailment damage. Grabbing the crit, because you get crit damage against enemies affected by ailment, which is, you know, more ailment damage. Of course, you want to get the sealed mana. Energy charge for Blink. All skill level, because it's great. And then this node right here, element damage ignores resistance. That means when we're dealing, this is very important. When we're dealing our ignite damage, it's ignoring fire res. So this is very good to get, and you definitely want to get it. It's super good. Okay, those are the talents. Let's go over the skills. I'm still messing around with the ground shaker stuff, the supports. But let's talk about why ground shaker is so good. It's because when you do your demolisher charge, you get a 1000 weapon attack damage, which is basically applying to your ignite, which makes your ignite insane, and there's no other skill that can get as big of an ignite. It's just not possible. So that is why we're going for ground shaker. It gives us the fattest ignite. That's why we're doing it. And then you definitely need added fire damage. That's definitely good. Steamroll, definitely the most value here. And then maybe additional ignite is completely necessary. I don't know. I've taken it on and off. And then I'm not sure about these two. Right now we're running Precision Strike and Fire Explosion. You can test things out yourself. I've tried Devastator. Devastator seems alright, but these have higher numbers, I think. We're running 2 War Cries. We're running Resurrection War Cry because it gives us a lot. It gives us Weaken, which reduces the damage enemies take. It gives us DR, 24%, and it gives us a heal, which we sometimes need because we're running we're running the Berserk hero trait, so we're getting degent. We have a blink here, mostly because we're a warlock and we don't have any attack speed, so leap is really slow. We're running Raging Warcry. Raging Warcry gives us a lot of damage. It gives us 7% additional damage the next 3 times demolish the charge rate for each enemy affected. This is additional damage that's applying to the ignite. And we get area, of course, as well. And we're running Bull's Rage, because Bull's Rage is great. It gives melee skill damage additional. So that is also applying to the Ignite. And then we have Regen here. I should probably up this one more. And we have Regen here on Seal Conversion. It's just, we kind of need it. And then we're running Charge Flames. Obviously great. We get additional Ignite damage. Flame Imbue gives us a lot of base ignite and chance to ignite. It's very good. And Fearless, now we're getting critical strike rating, which is okay because it doubles our duration. It's not the best, but we're also getting 76% critical strike damage, which, as we know, is additional ailment damage and the radius. Curse on hit, Abysmal Hatred, Scorch to round that out. Okay, I talked about the weapon, I talked about the skills, I talked about why you should have, very important to go to hero traits, you should have elemental fusion on your burst, of course, so you're not overriding your ignite. And then we have rage. We want critical strike damage per 1 rage owned. That's also giving us that. Frenzy Furious. Burst for our skill slots, we don't have a choice there. Rage on crit is great. And we have Uncontrolled Anger, which is basically giving us 50% additional damage while we're berserking. And we need a lot of regen for this. If you can't have the regen, just go the other one. But I have one T1 regen on my belt, and I have T2 regen on my gloves, and I have the aura, and that seems to be good enough combined with the war cry, as you saw during the map. Let's talk about the relic real quick. Right now I'm using a life and crit rating relic. The memories are more important because you can get up to 6% additional ignite damage on them. I have 3 slots right now. That one's only 5. But yeah, very good. It's giving me currently 17% additional damage. So that has been a 14-minute video. If anybody has any questions, make sure to come into the comments. Make sure if you want to watch some live #1 Ground Shaker Ignite Rehan gameplay, to tune to my Twitch. It's twitch.tv/problematicboy. Feel free to leave a comment with any questions. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.